Morning, guys. I'm just finishing up the last piece of this Cofemo chair. Ivan was knocking it out this morning. We had a few appointments to go to with the kids, so I got in a little bit late. This one is done, but what I want to say, stay tuned to the end of the video. After lunchtime, we're going to teach you something really important about Rosewood that you're not, a typical refinisher is not going to know this. It's going to take someone with expertise and doing it for 20 years to know this one technique. So let me get this over, and I'm going to show you one more little project we're working on this morning. All right, we're going to work on something that I've never repaired this in my 20 years of refinishing. It's the first time. It took me a few minutes to figure out how to correct it, and kind of what we're doing. And I'm still not 100% sure if we're set up properly, but we're going to take it one piece at a time. So it's these pieces that go to a Cato wall unit, which has a support bar. Let me go and grab it. So the support bar goes in the wall, and then it has these dowels on the backside that lock itself in place. Well, on 4 of these from a different unit, somebody cut them off, they probably broke, and screwed them in a wall. You could see that there's holes on the front side of it. So I've never had to correct this before. I have filled holes, I've done all of those kind of things, but I've never seen anyone drill these holes, the dowels out. And I had no idea, do I make a template? Do I make a jig? Ivan and I were going back and forth on what we should do to correct it. And I go, the time that it would take me to make a jig to drill basically 4 of these, so 12 holes, it may not be worth the time. Let's see if we could do it a different way. So I've already done one here. Here's our sample, and and here's the first one we've done. We're spot on, we're lined up. We're gonna let that one dry for a couple hours, and then we'll move down to the next one. So my thoughts are, I'm gonna do all the last 3, which are these guys here. I'm going to add the top ones in, then we'll come back in another hour or 2. We'll do the middle ones, and then lastly we'll do the bottom ones because they're the least important. If you notice here on the sample, you have 2 of the large ones, which are your weight holding dowels. And then I'm assuming this bottom one, since it's so short, it's just to line it up and keep it straight, because it really doesn't even go into the lock, into the hole. It just sits there. So I don't know what these people were thinking. They did something wrong. I'm here to correct it. Let's dive in. So we've come to the conclusion that we're just going to freehand it, but we're using the original as our sample, as our template. So what I did on that last one was I'm lining it up perfectly straight, so then I know it goes straight in. Then I have my guide here that I'm going to use with the drill. But the most important thing when doing it this way is to clamp it down, get it lined up perfectly, because it's going to want to slide around on you. I said right now it's not even lined up. We'll get it, kind of get that thing set into place. I said we're going to see how much play we really do have with these. Like I mentioned, this is the first time I've ever had to correct this. So I'm kind of guessing along the way. But what I did on the first one, I'm going to start with just like a pilot hole. I can basically find center of that hole, get it to go in just a little bit, but then I could use the dowel underneath it where I'm perfectly lined up. I could check my level, make sure that we're going in perfectly straight. Start with one. And then we're just going to slowly work our way up with different size drill bits. So I'll go up with this is like 1/8 of an inch now. Once again, kind of going a little straight and then come back. Then I could use that dowel again. Make sure I'm going straight with that pilot hole. I'm going to move my finger out from behind it because it was right here. For some reason I decided to drill through it. I would have drilled right in my thumb. So it happens a lot with nails and stuff. We try not to have that happen here. So right now we're already looking pretty good. I'm going to work my way up now. I believe this is 1/4 inch. Same thing, get it lined up. And then the last one is a 5/8, which is, I think it was this one here. Yeah, 5/16. 5/8 would be massive. Never said it would not be that. So I'll take it kind of slow. You know, and just like that, we have the hole drilled. We have our new dowel that we're going to put in place. I want to check the depth on that as well, and then I could use I'll actually flip it around. I could use the bottom dowel to measure it. I'll use my little saw, and we'll get this one glued in and drying. Okay, Ivan just gave me the confidence to just do the other two at the same time. He asked me the question, why wait? Why don't you just drill them all now? And I didn't really have a good answer. So here we go. I said we'll do it once again. And then kind of get it lined up. And this one's actually a little bit harder because this guy here drilled through this dowel. This is where the screw went, so I felt that it hit a certain point and then popped through, and you kind of hope that it stays lined up throughout the throughout this process. Kind of same thing. Work our way up again. Use the other dowel. Listen, I already feel like I'm off a little bit on this one because it jumped. So we had a little bit of a blowout right here due to the screw hole, but I think we're going to be okay. I think it lined up pretty nicely. Let's see. I mean, it lines up perfectly with the one below it. So we shall see. We're going to get this last one cut and get this first one glued up. We'll see if I could get it right on the first shot. Okay, I got all four of them all repaired, but then I put them in and test fit them. They need a little bit of sanding because they were slightly tapered in the beginning. So I finally was able to get it to go in. I said this one here now is perfectly fine. Structurally it's set. I have 3 more to go through, and just to show you the difference, I'll see if I can get it to work. So I can get it into here, but it's a little tight. Like, it doesn't want to force itself in. So that's all I'm saying. It just needs a little bit of sanding. I hit it with a little bit of 100 grit, tapered it down, and I said I'm going to knock out the other 3, get these ready so we could do the epoxy work where the screws used to be. We'll fill it with epoxy and get these things drying today, and then we'll get in the spray booth and start working on that Rosewood furniture. So carefully, I am mixing up this stain. It's a brand new gallon. So it has a whole bunch of this sediment on the bottom of, like I said, it's hard to, I can't pull it up. But yeah, it was really thick. So I said, carefully, just have mixed it around. What I'm going to do is use this stain and start hitting the back of the cabinet, and then we'll do the rest of the frame. So carefully. We'll kind of hit all these edges first. Use the brush, and then I'm going to grab the rag, just dip it in, and just carefully wipe on the stain. Like I've always mentioned, we do the back sides. It makes it look better. Customers will be happier, and like I said, it just, for a piece of this value, you really want to make it look top notch. Okay, don't cut corners. Give them the restoration that they deserve. So I'll kind of move this a little bit closer, then I don't have to walk back and forth as much. And just keep working my way around. So now they're on the front. This is where it takes a little bit of skill and a little bit of patience to hit this, because we do not want to stain anything inside. That's that maple veneer. You could tape it up. That takes time, but as long as you're real careful with it and not making a mess, you don't need to waste the time doing that. So I'm going to just kind of carefully work my way around it. Now that I got the perimeter done, we're just going to hit the sides first. This is just preference. You don't have to do it this way. You could do the top first. You know, just kind of work the stain. And always be looking for imperfections. As angry as you would be right now, if you find a scratch mark or a dent, it's better to stop right at this moment, fill it, and then come back to staining in, in 15-20 minutes. That way it's just, once you get sealer on it, it's done. It gets really hard to repair it. Same thing, we'll kind of spin it around. We'll do the same process here, hitting this front lip. And it can go left-handed or right-handed, sometimes if you're a switch hitter. So just taking time, taking the patience, and getting that nice and clean. And then we'll dip just a little bit more stain like we did earlier. We'll come on the side. I said I treat staining just like I do painting. You start and you overlap. Don't go all over the place. I don't like it. I see a lot of you kind of spinning around in circles, going everywhere. Just treat it like you're painting. Kind of just overlap the stain. Work it back and forth. A lot depends on which stain you use too. We only use Mohawk products, so I don't know how the Minwax or any of the general finishes stains really work. I stick with this stuff. It's been the only stuff I've used for 20 years. So why switch to something that may not work as good? And finally it's doing the top. So we'll do the same thing. Here though, we have to be careful so we don't spill it down the side. And if you do, you can wipe it up, wipe it up real quick. Just slowly working. Always look, always check every pass, make sure there's no drips going down the sides. I'm gonna check this side, looks good. And I'm playing with it on the fly here too. I could tell this top wants to take on the stain even more than the sides did. So I don't want it to sit too long and change the color too much. So you saw I just wiped it off real quick. Let me hop to this side. So it's always being able to be flexible and change things on the fly. You catch this, and then the sides would actually be lighter than the tops, and it would not be. It's just an added step. It's not impossible to repair, but you would have to tone it and blend it in the spray booth. Whereas like here, you could just do it one time, and like I said, just like that. I'm going to check the sides here. Check the side here. I'm going to let this dry for maybe an hour or so, and we'll get it in the booth and get the first coat of sealer on it. As I was checking the door out for the cabinet, originally we were going to stain it like normal, but I remember yesterday I told you it seemed like this wood was a little bit darker, and I said here's your natural color right now, and even right next to it, it's a shade, and with the light hitting it, it's about the same color already as the frame. So it's like I don't really want to put any stain on this guy, and we'll do the other door as well after it's sanded. I think I'm just going to wipe this with acetone, and then we'll put it in the spray booth and seal it naturally, and if it's slightly off, we will tint these two to match. I just don't want to make these doors too dark, and it'll kind of ruin the whole piece. Now for the trick you all been waiting for, we're going to put a little bit of acetone in the cup first. And it's really important to wipe the wood down, especially rosewood, before putting any type of sealer on it. Now, if you're staining it, things like that, you could wipe it down before putting stain. But I've just noticed, like, what I'm going to do right now is this nice chair frame from that Cofemo chair. I'm going to do it first because the rosewood dirt, the dust, will transfer onto here and ruin this light colored piece. So we always do just a quick wipe down Once again, it's another inspection point. With this acetone, you can see anything wrong with it, a scratch mark, a dent, something you could go back and fix before we put that first coat of sealer on. So I said it's just a quick wipe down. Now we know it's a clean surface. It's not oily. It's not like the Rosewood. But we'll work our way around over here to the Rosewood. And I said this stuff can be really oily at times. Different species, different eras. I only know this trick because we used to work on old square grand pianos from the 1800s, and a lot of those were solid rosewood. They weren't even veneered, and they were super oily where the lacquer would not stick to the wood unless you did this minutes before putting on the top coat. I've seen it happen. It doesn't happen to me as often with mid-century modern, but it's just a good practice just in case. You don't want to, get spraying sealer on it and then have some sort of chemical reaction with the sealer and the oils in the wood. I said, what does this take? An extra 30 seconds, and it just makes sure that you're not going to have any issues. Kind of working my way up now over here to this corner. These are solid rosewood legs. They're not veneered. So this, like I said, these are where I would be more nervous than anything, is these solid rosewood, because the oils could be trapped in here. Now that with their raw wood, they're exposed to air, to just normal wear and tear. The air will pull out some of these oils. So by doing this, you're going to just clean up and make sure you have a nice virgin surface, nice and clean. Lacquer will stick to it, and we won't have any issues. Maybe that's one of my tricks that keeps us from having issues on rosewood in our shop. The last piece that I could fit in the booth right now on the hanging areas is the doors from one of that 8-foot cabinet. It's a different kind of rosewood. There's different species of rosewood. This one here is a little bit lighter, but you will see in some of these transition points where the handles are the little finger pulls. They're going to be that same dark rosewood that you see over here in the legs. It's just, like I said, there's just different kinds of rosewood. This one here is actually veneered too, so I'm actually shocked how light this one is. But same thing, it's like this is the way it was designed. We're just trying to bring it back to the way it was created from the manufacturer, but make it look a little bit better. So we'll let this kind of dry for just a minute. I'll get my mask on, get some sealer mixed up, and I'll get spraying. Okay, we got the first coats of sealer on. You can see like this is starting to take shape. It's starting to look nice and pretty. It looks like it's like a bleached walnut. That's my guess. They said it was beech before, but this doesn't look like beech. It's got too much grain for that. It looks more like a mahogany that was bleached. So we got that one done. You can see the rosewood on these drawers now is starting to pop out. You saw that I was spraying the bottom section of it. We're going to throw a few light coats on. The legs sealed up. They have about 6 or 7 coats of sealer, and then the door as well. We spray both sides because it was left raw from the factory. We just throw a few coats on the back side, get that knocked out, sprayed about 6 coats on the front total, and we're going to get these moved out, replaced with a new order. But I want to get something else done first. Let's go. Okay, now we'll let that dry for a minute. I'm going to get this little cabinet back in the spray booth. I call it the office. In the spray booth, it came in with a few chips, a few pieces of damage. We filled it. We're going to put it back in for some sealer, and we'll probably do some touch-ups on it tomorrow. But before that, I want to get working on that Peter Blake Art Gallery piece, that table that we might break the legs on. So what we'll do is we'll get this moved out, set up, and then I'll kind of see what we could do with these legs. So what we'll do first is I'm going to set up one of the legs on this corner. I know how it goes together. I'm going to check this because there is a back side. They didn't polish it up the same way, so that's how we're able to tell. So I think, yeah, that hole lines up there. Let's see, I think this one goes like this. Let me see. Yeah, I think so. There's one side that's shinier than the other. I think it's this way. We'll set this up. And then I'll bring the other leg over to the opposing side. See if I can get both to line up at the same time. It's gonna be a little tricky. As I said, it's fighting me already. I can tell because this is one of the legs that's bent. I'm just going to get... I have an idea. We're going to put 2 screws on this side so it sets in place so it won't move on us, and then we can come back with a mallet and tap that in. Okay, so we got that side hooked up with 2 screws. Now I can take just the weighted mallet and just bring it in at the same time. Go back and forth. And so I could tell that it's fighting us because of it, because of being angled. I think we got it in there. Let's check this side. Feels good there. Yep. So we're good on this one. Let me kind of spin it, and you can see if you move over a little bit, Ivan, you can see how crooked these legs are. I mean, they're probably 5 degrees off. I am not sure what we could do here, so that's lined up now. So at least we know it operates properly, everything goes in together, but these legs being kind of crooked is not a good thing. So I'm gonna let's put another one in just to play it safe. Give us a little bit more strength for, bending it. I don't know how much, if we're off, yeah. This one we're also off a little bit, but it's only maybe a degree or 2. It's really hard to tell, but it's crooked as well. So it's like, I don't know. Let me see if I can grab a level and we'll check it that way. Okay, I didn't find my large level and square that I wanted to use. This will be a good enough starting point. I've already shaken it one time and it was about 3/8 of an inch down at the bottom. Now we're down to about 1/4. So what I did, just took a little bit of pressure, put a knee on the table and just kind of pull it back. It feels pretty good. Let me check here. It's like, I might have squared it up just by doing that. Technically, I'm a little too far. So I think I got it. Yeah, we're square on this side now. They didn't break. They're still nice and tight. And then I said I'm going to come over on this side. We'll do it again as well. Same thing. It's about a little bit more than 1/8, maybe 3/16. We'll see. Now I know it doesn't take as much, so pull it back a little bit. Now we're only about probably less than 1/8 on that one. less than an eighth. So we're one more little tug. This is where the one more tug is where it's going to get us. Let's see. Same thing, it went a little bit far. Come back right here. So just a little bit. This side really. There you go. That's pretty darn square right there. I call that an A+ for that. This couple of these screws were a little loose. We'll plug those holes and re-drill them. But structurally, the table still feels really good. Ivan and I will set the camera down. We'll flip it over and check it out right now. Now that we got it flipped over, you can see all the damage that it has. Some chips, scratch marks, a whole bunch of sun bleach on this side, just from probably sitting in front of a window. I believe this one is teak, which is really unique because now we have to tie in, this is all going to go in the same exhibit. This piece here, which is teak, is going to go with that mahogany piece we stained today with that rosewood desk that we're working on inside the spray booth right now. All of these colors have to correlate with one another and tie in so that way it looks like it's all part of the same show. But like I said, from a distance, I don't know if you could tell, but the legs are tight. It is structurally sound. It has a little shake to it, which is normal for like little petite legs like this, but it's not wobbly. It's structurally, safe. It's just a, we're gonna get it back on the table. I'm gonna clean one of the pieces of chrome and just see if it's good enough for Peter Blake to have us polish it instead of having to send it out to get re-chromed or repolished at a professional refinisher. We'll see that. So let's get this table back and we'll flip it back over. All right, we're just finishing these ones up. Wanted to show you too, like you can see the color of that rosewood. This one's a lot lighter than any of the other one. The desk that's going in tomorrow, the Eames chairs. Like I said, there's different cuts of rosewood. So you just have to know what you're working with, what kind of, what species it is. Because I said, some people may see that and call it walnut or one of those kind of things. Before we get out of here, I wanted to show you one little thing on this tabletop. I took the chrome back off, we cleaned it. It looks like it's in really good condition. It's just dirty. But what I'm gonna do now before I forget about it, I'm gonna add a toothpick with some glue into all of the holes for this mount. So that way when we're done, we could put the screws back in. They'll be twice as tight and it'll actually pull it in and give it a little less wobble that it may have just for the nature of the piece. So using the little toothpick or a barbecue skewer, both of those would work great, just depending on the size of the opening. These holes are a little smaller. We're going to use the toothpick. As I said, this will help kind of tighten things up once we're done. It'll also get, it'll get a little bit of sawdust in it when we sand it and repair it. So that'll also help in the process too. But I'd rather do this now so everything gets dried. Then when we're done, it'll go back together much stronger. Because I said 2 or 3 of these screws were a little loose. When you put them in, they were just spinning. They did not want to stay in place. So I'm going to hit this side, and then we'll go through one more thing, and then we'll get out of here for the day. All right, we're going to let that dry up a little bit overnight. Come back tomorrow. But then I just want to show you, Ivan's been working on the Philippon chair, that little desk chair. It's about 90% of the way there, sanded, filled. It just looks like it needs that last little bit of hand sanding. And same with that second Philippon door for that credenza we stained today. We have, like I said, you can tell the color difference. The back side is a lot lighter, more like the cabinet, but the front is a lot darker. So Ivan's going to get these buttoned up today, and we will get out of here. Oh, and then this thing too, this was that piece we took off the other day that was a real pain to get off because they glued it to the chair frame. We're going to go through, glue all these little splinters down with the super glue, remove all this old foam, old glue, get this sanded back down. You're never going to see this. This is going to get wrapped in leather. It's going to be attached back to the chair, but it still needs to be functional. Like this is just not acceptable. I said, stay tuned till tomorrow as well. We're going to come back and we're going to put those rosewood cabinets and that desk in the spray booth. The grain pop on those are going to be unreal. They're really gorgeous pieces of furniture. So you don't want to, you don't want to miss that. See you guys tomorrow.